Hey everyone, what's up? Yeah, this is hopefully the first in a series of Yugi tubing videos, just kind of discussing the state of the game. Just not a ton of like real structure to these, just kind of some thoughts that kind of come and go. And yeah, um, this is the first one. So this is kind of in reaction to something I saw in a Farfa video that I will link in the bottom. That was a reaction to another content creator where he basically said Yu-Gi-Oh's too linear. Everything kind of like everyone follows the same combo guides. You do the same combo every time, and every deck ends on the same or not that every deck ends on the same thing, but every deck, regardless of pilot, will end on the same board. So whether it's you, me, or somebody good playing Rescue Ace, they're going to end in Hydrant Turbulence, set 4 pass. They're going to a branded Despia player is just going to go Mirror Jade pass. Maybe set branded Beast or something, or set up the graveyard for Lubellion. But that's kind of the point. Like, or another one, Sword Soul, which this is probably the worst example, but because it is Sword Soul. But you've got Moye, reveal Worm in hand, bring out Chixiao, Chen Yang, Baron de Fleur, and call it a day. I mean, Baron de Fleur is just generic synchro good stuff. Like, if you can make a level 10, you're making Baron. It's just the reality of the game. But I digress. My argument is that yes, it's true. Yu-Gi-Oh can be super linear. You've got like combo decks, like the way decks are built and essentially manufactured and designed by Konami. They have goals in mind. That's your win con. Like when you don't have goals in mind, you end up with Gen X. Um, just weird piles of trash that just do so many different things. Speedroids, or not speedroids, like the roids, like rescue roids and stuff like rescue roid and that crap, like old stuff that just like it didn't know what it wanted to do, so it just does everything a little bit and hopes to God that it works. Whereas now, like more modern decks are designed with a win con in mind. Rescue Aces is you set the 4, you use that to control the game, establish your grind game, and then turns 3, 4 are where you're able to start recycling those resources and setting 4, using the different spells and traps to try to gain an advantage. Like in turn 3, maybe using reinforce. And turn 3 is actually kind of what I'm getting at here, because yes, Yu-Gi-Oh is super linear at times, but after turn 2, that's all out the window. What I mean by that is turn 3 and onward, you're getting into the real skill of Yu-Gi-Oh, where the ability of somebody to design a deck, to build a deck for grind game, and consistency after their initial hand, where you will have burned a lot of resources setting up your board, and now your opponent has broken through that. How are you going to react to their board, essentially? And turn 3 and 4 and so on shows how good you are at deck building, how good you are at managing those resources, whether or not you're able to do it in a way that allows your deck to adapt to not being able to win on turn 1 or turn 2, whether you're using a blind OTK deck, going second OTK, or something like you set Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade's gone. You've lost that. You had Barone, you had Shishao, and you had Chen Yang, and they all got sphere moded away. How did you build your deck then to manage that reality? And that's where Yu-Gi-Oh's skill expression that people really treasure and that this game really does offer, um, in my opinion, better than most, if not all, other card games, is that skill expression is just so key and shines through so well after turn 2. For a deck that I play a lot is Rescue Ace. So after let's say turn 2, you get even lead. You've lost, right? You've lost your Hydrant. You've or let's say you keep Hydrant, but you've lost Turbulence and you've lost 4 spells. They're all banished face down. Those are 5 resources you've just lost access to. How are you going to use your Hydrant and whatever you draw build that back. What resources are going to be in your deck that's available to you on turn 3 to say, okay, I'm in tough, but I know I can do enough that I don't have to just scoop immediately. That you can continue, like you can fight back essentially. And the one thing actually that kind of has an interesting benefit, kind of more of an aside, is that because so many Yu-Gi-Oh cards do a lot, you can just kind of do it. So, or for do it, you can just sort of like go into this stuff. Like you don't need to draw, you know, a super great like card. You just need to draw one. Like you can draw something. Like if you're in a situation like what I just described with Rescue Ace, and you draw your lifter, that's your tool back into a hydrant. That's your tool into getting into if your graveyard's already full of stuff that you might want to recycle. That's your tool to get into HQ. So those kind of like recursion tools, you can use that to link off something with hydrant and maybe start building that way. Get some resources back in the graveyard. Whatever you happen to do, that's how you're going to kind of like, or you draw a pot of prosperity, you draw something. But yeah, basically the idea, what I'm basically getting at is that, yeah, turn 1 is linear. A lot of the times it's going to be 99% of your games, unless you're playing somebody who decided to just show up with a runic bestial deck to a YCS, and you have no idea, like nobody's, or even Unchained at Vancouver. I don't think anyone thought Unchained was going to just show up. Like in that case, you're like, whoa, like what am I going to do? Like you have to adapt really quickly, and that's another form of skill expression, being able to adapt to that. But the other thing is like when you when you've had your board broken and you're still standing, how are you going to try to secure or at least bounce back and get back into that game and get that win? And that's where the skill expression of deck building for the long term, like the long game, kind of comes into play. If your deck is all fuel for turn 1 and then after that you're just kind of left standing there wondering, okay, you draw a brick. Well, then maybe that's not great deck building. I think that's something that I think we're kind of at a point now where I think design has gotten to a point where you are getting that more often than not. You're getting decks that are able to play it on turn 3 and turn 4 a little bit more effectively than they were maybe 2-3 years ago, where we were really dealing with a lot of combo heavy decks that were going basically, if you didn't draw the out, you just went home. Even Kashtira was like that to an extent with a Rise Heart. But yeah, those are just kind of my thoughts about it. I wonder what other kind of wondering what you guys might think. Guys is gender neutral, but like, but I think the skill expression really after game after turn, and you could say that also in game 2 and 3, where now you're adding your side deck and other things you're going to get even another layer of skill expression. But I think that, yeah, going like turn 3, how does somebody use limited resources? You've burned through your starting hand. You probably don't have 5 cards in hand unless, again, you're playing something like Runic that is able to really recycle, like, or at least get stuff back into your hand quickly. What are you going to do to kind of stay in this, like, or get back into it? And I think that's where Yu-Gi-Oh's skill expression really starts to shine, and that it's like it's no longer just a matter of like you can still use those combo lines, but now you don't have the benefit of drawing 5 or having 6 cards in your hands. You have 2 or 3 and a graveyard full of stuff. Like, cool. How do you manage those resources to get you into a position where you can still win a game after your board's been broken? And but yeah, those are just kind of my thoughts on it. See what you guys think. And yeah, these aren't going to be super like intensive or like high quality or even intelligent things, but I'm going to keep posting them because there's a lot of thoughts I have about this game and I have an avenue to share them. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching. Bye.